Right, hello and welcome back to another episode of Cars and Engineering. In today's episode I'm going to be changing the alternator and the auxiliary belt tensioner. Stay tuned. Right, so as you can see here, this is the new alternator and this is a brand new INA belt tensioner. I recently done a timing belt on the car, didn't film it because it was quite an involved process, especially with our ramp. It took about 6 hours or so. The alternator on the car now has got a bit of bearing knock, so obviously when I twist it like this is a new one. That is lovely and smooth. When I turn the car on at the moment, there's bearing knock coming from this bearing underneath all of this plastic power regulator stuff. There's a shaft that goes through the alternator itself, and there'll be a bearing inside, and most likely a bearing that side, to keep the shaft level and able to spin freely. One of the bearings on the alternator on the car is gone, so when I turn it on, it's just going knock, 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 knock. It's like a metal noise. And when I done the timing belt, I didn't actually have one of these in stock. Now I have. I can use that, change that, so then the car would have had a new timing belt, a new water pump, a new auxiliary belt as well, and now a new auxiliary belt tensioner. I also changed the tension and the dampener on the timing belt as well. So the whole side of that engine is now, or will be after this video, brand new. Now there's not much to this, well, not in the garage anyway, so I'm going to go and transfer to the car. I'm going to get this off. There's a 5mm hole here. I use a drill bit to block it, basically on the car. It will be like that, mounted on the car. You can use a 15mm spanner, put it on that, pull it back, and that hole here lines up with that hole there, and you can shove a 5mm drill bit through it, or a 5mm pin if you got it, to take the tension off the belt. You can pull the belt out of the way, obviously that's got to come off to get to the alternator, and then the alternator's just two, I think 13mm, yeah, two 13mm bolts, and then that should come out once you've obviously undone the earth wire and actual power regulator wire. So let's get to the car. Right, so the first thing I'm going to be doing is popping the bonnet, because the alternator is located just under the driver's side of the bonnet area. So, well, the front driver's side, just sort of behind the GTI badge, just off screen, or just barely on screen here. Now, if you've seen my previous video, which will be up somewhere here in the top right hand corner, I installed some gas struts to the bonnet, so I don't have to mess about with this anymore. Right, that is the alternator to change, so I need to get this pipe out of the way, and the actual pulley itself is there. Turn my lights on. It's just there, you can just see the top of it by the tip of my finger, so I need to move all this out of the way to get to that. First thing is to remove this. See, this comes from the intercooler, because it comes from the turbo down pipe through here, intercooler's underneath here somewhere, and then into your throttle body. So that can be moved out of the way. I'll wedge that there, trying to make a bit more room for myself. Right, now as I showed you on the previous one, this is a little hole here. I've got a 4mm Allen key to go in, but it needs to line up this hole over here. So using a 15mm spanner. So now that is locked, and the belt, which is just over here, is now loose from the alternator, so I can just pop that down there for a minute, get that out of the way. Where this is coming off anyway, I'm going to take that off first and then take the alternator off. Now there's 1, 2, and just behind this important pipe just up here, there's 3 13mm bolts to get this tensioner off. You need to get them off. But there's a very important thing to remember with this little bit here, and I'll show you once it's off. It's like a little metal plate that holds these coolant pipes together. If that is the wrong side, this pulley down here itself, a little one there that's connected to, or this pulley here, because as you're looking at it like that, this here will crash into the engine cover and it will ruin this nylon like spinner or pulley. So you don't want that to happen. So you have to be very careful about where that plate goes, where the rotation goes, and where it sits. So I'm going to get this set up. I'm going to take this tensioner off, so then I can finally get to the two 13mm bolts for the alternator. Right, so that is all 3 bolts out. So the tensioner should just come out like that. You can see the locking pin, you can see what it looks like. This is the original VW Audi one. So this has done 153,000 miles. And yeah, it's alright, it's not looking too great, but in comparison to the new one, this new one's got a lot more, I want to say resistance, but I know it's just a new bearing inside it. So yeah, that is a new one of them. But before we can put this on, I need to get that alternator off and change that. Now on this side of the car, this is the back of the alternator. Can't really get in there much because of where it is. My hope is that I can bring it out this way, hopefully. You can see the alternator belt down there, or the auxiliary belt. But before we start taking stuff off, I need to unplug this plug here. Just sort of see it on my finger. That needs to be unplugged. There's like an earth wire under here. This cap needs to come off. Probably with a pair of pliers because it's been on there for a while. That needs to come off, and then I need to undo the 13mm bolt behind it, ready to be replaced onto the new alternator. One other thing I should have mentioned is you need to disconnect the battery, because this is a electrical system, that is power, you don't want to get shocked. So I'm going to disconnect the negative wire so that then that will be safe to work on. Right, now that's disconnected, I can get on with the alternator. Right, that is the earth wire disconnected, and that is the voltage wire. Well, I think that tells the ECU how much voltage it's getting, and then that flags up to say if something's wrong. Yeah, they're both disconnected, so now I just need to remove the two 13mm bolts around this side of the engine. Now these bolts are just here, and there's one just there, and then that should release the alternator and hopefully come out here so we can give it a little inspection. But this is how not good it is. That you can hear it's not too good at the moment. So we'll get that off, have a look, and then look at the other one. Right, so them bolts are out, so this should just rock free now, unless there is another bolt that I haven't seen. No, so yes, it should just come loose now. It might need a bit of persuasion. Bar here, I might need to give it a little smack to release it, because the alley's corroded over a little while. So if I can get in there with a bar. Right, so I've got the alternator free of its mountings. Everything's unplugged from the back. There was another 8mm bolt on the back. I just need to now be very careful to get it up out of the engine bay without damaging anything. Sort of twisting it every now and then. Make sure it doesn't break any water lines. That'll be a very bad day. And there is the alternator. I'm going to put this next to the new one so we can compare and go from there. Right, so these are the two side by side. That's the old one, that's the new one. You can tell that's silent and quiet. This one, not looking too good. So this is the new one that's going to be going on the back of this one. Unlike this one, there's a little stud there for like a little P-clip to keep all the wires neat and tidy. I don't really need on this one, it's not in the way, won't get in the way. So as you can see on this one as well, that's where we took the earth from, and that is the regulator. Again, that's the same, this one just comes with a spare nut. That's a little bit rusty, that's a bit rusty as well, clean that up. But no, this one's now got to go on, and this one's either got to be repaired. I might be able to change this and then have it as a spare, or it's got to go in the bin. Either way, we are now halfway there. This is the new alternator. I need to get these bolts out because I don't need them in there. This can now go in the same way the old one came out, very gently to not break anything. It should go in a bit easier actually. I say should, hopefully. There we go. It's got to mount out with its mounting holes, and that is basically home. It's got to find out where they are, where the holes are. Get that one started, and then find the bottom one. Get that started as well. I always tie these up by hand. Well, I always tighten these up by hand to start with, because you want to make sure it's not cross-threading. So now they're finger loose. Around the back here, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but around the back, as you're aware, there is the earth wire and the, I want to say power regulator line, or the ECU line, so it knows how much voltage it's getting. Just need to do them back up. Right, so that's the back, all plugged in. Now I need to tighten up these 13 mils, get the new tensioner on the car, and then, well, make sure the belt is lined up, then just reconnect the battery, and we are away. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, the old one's got to go back on. I don't see why this won't work. It's come off the 1.8 turbo that I bought to rebuild. That engine project is on hold at the moment. I've got a few things going on with that. But this is the part of the video where I say to you, please subscribe, please like, please share. The channel is growing very well, still very well. I'm put out a video in about 3 weeks, I think it is now. Sorry, slacking on my part. I've got a lot of footage coming up. We've got the Porsche brakes in motion now. We have obviously this alternator video. I'm going to be doing a oil pickup pipe video. That's quite a common one. I've got a baffled sump in the works. I'm also going to be doing a gearbox oil change because a couple of you asked for it, and I've also got the 1000 subscribers special in the pipe work as well. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and I will continue with the video. Right, now I need to do these up. Right, so that is now the alternator all secured, back in place. Again, it's just for the tensioner now. Now the old one's got the 4mm pin at the moment. I'm gonna have to put this on, move the 4mm pin back, and then do it like that, because otherwise I'm not sure I'll be able to get that back by hand, because it's a very strong spring. Let's have a look. And not drop the spanner. Right, so in here there's a little metal plate. I don't know if you can see it, it's just there. And that holds the water pipes together. It's just there, see it? Zoom in. Just there by my thumb. It's got one hole there, it's got one hole just hiding behind this pipe to my left. Just here. That has to go in front of the tensioner. If it goes behind, flush with the block, you will get issues and it will smash itself into this casing down here. You can probably see where I made that mistake when I was doing the timing belt, and there's like a big old burn mark on that engine casing there. So yeah, they have to be, oh, that plate has to be, move that out of the way, that one there, that has to be away from the block and on the tensioner side. So it'll be on, as you're looking at this, let's get the right way around first. As you look at that, it will be on these two and not on these two, because it sits like that. That's the block side, that is the tensioner side. It sits over these holes here, and so the bolt will go through that and then come out this side. That's very important, or you will have the auxiliary belt smashing the hell out of each other. Well, you'll actually have this pulley here, this brand new pulley, smashing itself to bits on the engine case, and you really don't want that, because then that's a new one of these. And these, they're not expensive, but it's time, isn't it? You don't want to, it will cause failure, because if your auxiliary belt fails, then your alternator is not going to charge your battery and you will break down. So yeah, it's a little important bit of information that you have to take account of. So I'm going to get this in. I'm probably going to put one bolt in so then I can tension it up and then go from there. Let's get this down into the depths of the engine. Not that far. So I don't know if you can see that, but see where the plate has to sit above. Can't sit below, you're gonna have a bad day. Right, so I just need to pull this back. Lock that in place. Right, now that's all in place, I need to make sure the belt is aligned correctly. Right, as you can see, the belt is now all tensioned up properly. You can see down there, it's running underneath the pulley itself. So when I take the tension of that pin, it will tension the belt up so it sits around the alternator pulley, the air conditioning pump, and the actual harmonic dampener for the engine, and that should be it done. So let's do that and see if it worked. Right, so if I release the tension off this belt, or off this pulley, the belt should line up perfectly. And that belt is all perfect now. You can see how it's tensioned, you can see that's the tensioner there doing its job. That is the alternator. The air compressor is just off camera, so it's harmonic dampener. All I have to do now is put this back on. Reconnect the battery and we should be good to go. I will turn it by hand to make sure it still lines up before I start it. That means taking the wheel off, so I'm going to do that off camera quickly and then reconnect the battery turn the car on, and hopefully it bloody works. Right, moment of truth. See here, that is running lovely. I'm going to check if there's any lights on the dashboard. There shouldn't be, and then go from there. You can see the engine's rocking quite a fair bit. I do believe my engine mounts on the way out, which is another video coming up, so make sure you like and subscribe. This is the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.